Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Monday Meditation Series. So every Monday we invite a special guest speaker who can share their personal journey and along with a key insight that keep them closer to Baba. Right? So today we have with us Sister Azi. Sister Azi is from Israel. She has been with Baba for over 20 plus years, and she by profession she is an artist, uh, and she has been very active in Ramin journey, serving the youth. uh, there is a youth wing called IYF, which is a youth wing that is sustaining BKs who are young adults. So today she's going to share something unique, especially for Indians who have come from the Indian background, who have been growing up with Bhagavad Gita in their backdrop. So one of the main things that Bhagavad Gita talks about is Paradharma is very dangerous, and Swadharma, even though it is not glamorous and appealing, Swadharma is the best approach. So on that note, Sister Azi is going to take us deeper into her journey of how she got that spiritual independence. And if you actually see, in the name of bhakti, we get so dependent on all the cultures and dogma and everything around it. So the very religion becomes a means of sorrow. So we have to figure out, like, how do I find that independence, spiritual support? That's what Baba gives us. And then without any further ado, I invite Sister Elsie. Welcome, Sister Elsie. And just for your information, Sister Elsie is coming from Israel, which is Amrit Vela time. She took this special time. She's in a very meditative space, and of course she's sacrificing. Of course, she's bringing Baba with her into the gathering. And I especially recommend or request everyone to turn on your cameras, because when you turn on your cameras, you can take drishti, we can give drishti, and that is what we do when we connect to Baba. When we sit before Baba's picture, we take drishti from Baba, and that's how we as a family connect to each other, by exchanging drishti. Please turn on your cameras again. Thank you. Thank you, Azi. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Harsha, for the warm welcoming, and generally for the invitation, and also for requesting the videos to be opened, because I was just about to mention that. It's wonderful. I've never had the chance to be in the US, and it's wonderful there is this opportunity to meet, but still it's via screen. So at least if you are comfortable to have your video on, then it's nice because we can meet more visually also. Yes, so lovely to see you. And yeah, I was requested to share a bit about the journey, the spiritual journey, and I was reflecting for this past few days about it, and it's really struck me. What a journey. And I'm sure you all, if you reflect on your journey, your starting point, your challenges and everything, it's really quite amazing. And also, yeah, where we reach, what we are exposed to within ourselves in terms of the real beauty and purity. And yeah, I see someone raised their hand, so I'm not sure. Okay, so the title, or the title that was given is Spiritual Independence. And this is, I think, a topic that is really like a thread in my own journey for quite a good number of years. And maybe if we just start with this quote that Harsha was mentioning from the Gita, I will start it. Of course, it's in Sanskrit, so it's not going to be a perfect translation, but we'll just try, do our best. And it says that it is better to follow your own, your Swadharma. I'll explain that a bit further. It's better to follow your own religion, your own duty, your own purpose, rather in an imperfect way or a faulty way, rather than performing another's duty perfectly. So when I read the Gita, that sentence really struck me. And I'm sure it touches each one of you in your own particular way. This thing about Swadharma, the whole concept of Dharma is a very, very deep concept, and there isn't really an equivalent word for it in English. But an example or description of it that I found very useful is this, what's the word? Okay, like sugar. The Swadharma of sugar is to be sweet. And the Swadharma of the sun is light and warmth. So I find it very useful, and then to ask myself, what is my Swadharma? And this term actually comes up in the Muli. It's translated as original religion. And it says that our Swadharma is peace. The Swadharma of the soul is peace. So in a way, whenever I step out of my peace, or I do not experience my peace, I'm not connected with my peace. I'm actually disconnected from my own Swadharma, my own essential nature. But then this quote from the Gita actually says that individually, each one of us has our own Swadharma. Like, who am I? And what does that imply in the world? And so this can be maybe a starting point for this whole topic of spiritual independence. And because it's so independent, it's so individual, so personal, then even this word spiritual independence would mean something different, slightly different, maybe very different for each one of us. So I would like us just to take a moment for each one, just to reflect for yourself when you hear these words, spiritual independence. What does it do for you? What does it mean for you? What do you understand personally for yourself from these words? So just take a very quick moment for this, to allow this personal reflection. So yeah, I will share from my own experience, but I think one of the big mistakes we do along the path, or maybe one of the big unuseful habits that human beings today have, is comparison. And this whole thing about this sentence from the Gita and spiritual independence is really to become free from this illusion of comparison. So really to give ourselves the permission to be ourselves, to have our own understanding, to connect with things personally in my own way. So even though I will be sharing my own journey. It's not about comparing or trying to say this is right for you, because it's not. But surely it will touch you in a certain way and maybe help your own, I don't know, insights, thinking, or support in whatever way. Yes, so another moment just for you to reflect on, what does spiritual independence mean to you? So we won't take too much time on it, and I don't think now would be appropriate time for sharing, but if you do want to write a few words in the chat, then more than welcome. If you had some nice, I don't know, insight, definition, what it means to you. But otherwise I will start the beginning. Maybe I'll share one experience from the beginning of my journey. As Harsha said, I came to Gyan 20 years ago, and I was 20 at that time, so very young. And I wouldn't say I was a seeker, because I didn't even have the idea of going outside of myself to search for something, to look for something externally. But definitely I had many questions about the world. Many things just did not make any sense at all, what I was seeing in the world. So I was a deep thinker, and I would question, and I would ask myself these questions and reflect. So it's interesting, even in terms of looking for answers, that I didn't actually go outside, but I went inside. So I had many questions. As Harsha said, I live in Israel, I grew up here. And so the circumstances are challenging in a way. And yeah, especially those years, I could never make any sense. I could never understand how is it that people find life, or let's say that people find land more valuable than life. There was so much sorrow with young people being killed, fighting over land, and that was a reality, and I could always feel that sorrow, and it just never made any sense. And so what happened when I came to Gyan, I was invited to do the course, and I was just hearing one lesson after another, and it all just clicked for me. When hearing the first lesson of the soul, my thought was, how did I not get that before? How did I not realize I'm a soul? It made so much sense. I did believe in reincarnation, but it's like, so that was like my first instinct when hearing about that. And then when hearing about the lesson about God, the Supreme Soul, what emerged from within, I can believe this description of God, because the other descriptions didn't work, but this, it made complete sense, and that was the feeling. And then especially the lesson of the cycle was answering to me about what I was sharing before, about my questions about the world and all the non-logic within the world. So just hearing about the cycle of time, and that, yes, this image I had of how the world can be and how humanity should be versus what we have today. Yes, so this is a cycle of time, and there was a time like that. It will come back, and yes, this is the darkest period in humanity, and somehow just hearing that brought so much relief for me, because it made sense. So that was a very significant aspect for me. Sorry. But what happened? Okay, so everything made complete sense. And I would even say, I mean, I loved it. I really loved the Gyan, the knowledge. And I even said, I want this to be true. But I come from a very heady place. One of the journeys for me was from the head to the heart. That's another story. But then was the question of faith. Okay, I like the knowledge. It makes sense to me. But how can I really know that it's true? The fact that I want it to be true doesn't make it true, right? So that was one of the things I was dealing with at the beginning. And then some nice soul gave me this hint that faith is based on experience. So this is the first aspect of spiritual independence, because it has to be my own personal first-hand experience. I can hear other people's experiences and it can support my faith in a way or attract me or make sense, but you have to experience it for yourself, and that's what faith is based on. And so when I heard that, my focus was on opening myself for experience. So I would practice very much the meditation. It was mostly for me, it was the evening meditation, everything else also, but mostly my experiences would be at the evening meditation. I would practice that with the aim of experiencing the knowledge, of experiencing it for myself. In a way, kind of searching, is this the true? In a way, looking for proof. And then one time when I was sitting for this meditation, and I was making my own effort. Yeah, remember I was very young, so not so much experience in life. And I was just trying to experience meditating. And then at some point it was, I guess I was feeling a bit too much hard work, or as if I'm trying too hard or something like that. Just wanted to let it go. So I had this thought, wait, if the soul really exists, if God really exists, I don't need to create it. It's not that I'm trying to create an experience and it's up to me to create the experience. I'm not creating the soul, I'm not creating God. If it is really there, then I should be able to experience it. Logic, yeah? If it really exists, then I should be able to feel it. And that, I hope it makes sense, right? Yeah, okay. So that shifted my meditation practice. And then instead of trying so hard to create an experience, I just became quiet internally and let go of that kind of feeling. And I started to listen, to open myself to catching something. So it's a big difference, but it's very subtle that happens inside. Instead of trying to create something, to think too much, to open myself to catching, to hearing. So I call it listening. But of course, it's very subtle internal listening, but it's listening to the soul, listening to God. Are you there? Okay, I'm listening. So I did keep my thoughts on track with Gyan, with knowledge, about thoughts about the soul, thoughts about the Supreme Soul, but I wasn't trying to create it, just listening to it. And that was my first experience, because that was when I received my first experience, because I think my letting go of trying to create it and just opening myself to listening allowed the space for God to give me that experience. allowed something to open up that I can experience it. I hope this makes sense, yeah? And so that was really my first real experience of the soul and the Supreme Soul. And we say independent, but the one we're not independent from is God. So we are, the beauty of this journey is really being dependent on God. So I think these experiences, I always feel it's a gift. It's a divine gift, a gift. Can be a gift from life or a gift from God. And why does it feel like a gift is because there is this feeling, wow, it's beyond me. I did not create it. I didn't even imagine it. A later on experience that I had still at the beginning years was of really God's love in such a vast way, really beyond words. And what was so clear, it's not coming from me. I did not even have the ability to imagine that. It was like completely out of my range. So these are the things that are gifts. But then still, in order to receive those gifts, there are things that are on my part. And so the first thing is to open myself and to listen, because if I'm not listening, then how will it come? And then just to share maybe one thing also that that connects with this, and we can say it's a practice also. I call it the power of the question, the power of question. And there is one Moli, I think all of you should be Moli students. There is one Moli, Avyak Moli, when Baba says, I was asking some questions, and then he was saying, Baba is throwing stones in the form of questions into the pool of your mind and watching the ripples that are created. Baba is throwing stones in the form of questions into the pool of your mind and watching the ripples that are created. And so one of the things I found very useful in this journey is learning to be comfortable with an unanswered question. Because whenever there's a question that comes up, and especially we're speaking about internal question, even if we were to do some exercise now and I will ask a certain question, then it's like the instinct is to give an answer and to try to find an answer. And until I have an answer, I would be uneasy, like I would be uncomfortable. There would be a form of tension. And once I get some answer, even if it's not something too deep, it's as if I need to have an answer in my hand, and then I'm relaxed. You know this feeling? So one thing I understood is that I need to allow myself to feel comfortable with the question, not rush for an answer, because the question is actually opening a door. And I can learn so much just from being in the space of the question and listening. So again, it's this thing of listening rather than trying to hurry up to find an answer and close that door. Sometimes I even say, a question is such, a good question is such a valuable thing. And it's like, don't kill a good question with an answer, because once you have an answer, it's as if you've killed the question. But this question is a door. It opens a door within me. And why Baba was saying the ripples. So sometimes if I ask a question and I just listen to the ripples that are created within my being, I don't have an answer yet, but maybe I will say that I feel tensed. Maybe I feel this question like brings tension up, or these questions brings fear up, or it brings joy. Just, I will have a reaction to the question. If I rush to the answer, I will not notice that. But this reaction that I have is actually very useful for me to, for my own personal checking and learning to get to know myself. And maybe one of the biggest questions that we ask ourselves is, what do I want? It sounds like a simple question, but it's a huge question, and it's not something that I can rush to an answer. But it's like when I really ask myself this question, it's like I put this as an aim in front of me, and I open up the space within me to listen to the answers that will show themselves up. So another thing is, even if an answer comes, it's not like it's the final answer. So I can keep asking myself this question. Maybe it will change its form, and listen to deeper answers, because sometimes it can be just my head answering from my previous knowledge, but am I really listening to my heart? So this is just a tool. So maybe we can just stop now for a few moments of quiet reflection or meditation, just a few minutes, and we'll take some question. This is a nice question always to ask ourselves. So maybe I suggest this question, but if you feel any other question to ask yourself, then you're completely free to do that. So the question of, what is my heart telling me now? So let's just take a few moments of silence to listen. What is my heart telling me now? And if you find that the instinct of trying to give an answer by thinking comes up, then just gently listen to your thoughts. It's as if not even trying to think the thoughts and create thoughts, but just listening to whatever comes up. Whatever comes up, it's really, if I'm not judging it or pushing it away, it's just all insights about where I am now, and then I can do something with it. So what is it my heart is telling me now? And maybe I can hear clearly what my heart says. And maybe I cannot, maybe I don't hear it so much at the moment. And so I just need to give it more time and attention. Now let me take another step and bring the Supreme Soul into this quiet reflection. Kind of feel myself next to him, knowing that this is the one who really knows my heart. And it's not only me listening to my heart, but God is also listening to my heart. And even if I cannot hear, he clearly hears my heart. So I can just experience this safety of this companionship. What emerges in God's heart when he listens to my heart? So I don't need to think too much, but just keep this, staying in this space of the question and listen to whatever emerges. Maybe just listen to the silence. Shanti. So generally, if we were sitting face to face now, physically, then it would have been lovely to hear just a little bit of sharing from each one, but this is not the situation at the moment. But if you do wish to write some words, if you just a word maybe of this experience in the chat, then you're very welcome. So now we'll take another step into the journey of spiritual independence. And as the journey continues, then I think probably from your experience also we face different challenges. And certainly I've also experienced that. But then at some point you realize these are not like things that are trying to make my life harder, but these are actually tailor-made training from the drama. It's exactly what I, the soul, need in order to strengthen and reach my goal, discover myself. And really, because at some point I really realized, I looked back and I was very finally like at peace with myself, and I said I wouldn't change any of those challenges because that's what really brought me to where I am. This is what allowed me to learn. And yeah, it was difficult. It was painful. It was confusing. It was many things. But yeah, we tend to think, to have this feeling that as if it's against me, or someone is against me, or I want to be there. But when we face it and we turn inside and work with whatever it forces us to face, then really it's also a huge gift. And I feel it's the fortunate ones who get this gift, and it's the strong ones who get the hard training. So whenever I used to have a really like complicated situation or hard, then I would feel, yeah, because I aimed for the top, so I need to have a proper training. Like in the army, there are these special units that if you go for the very top, it's a very, very difficult training completely. And so that's like what I would say to myself and really experience going through the difficulties. That it's really training, and it's hard training because I'm aiming high. And it is a gift. I do believe it's the fortunate ones that get this training. And I will just share, I will not go too much into the challenges themselves, but just to share the benefits. So one was, it was mostly in relationships within actually the BK family. Within that's where my challenges were mostly. And one thing was this thing of not being understood. In general, I can say it's the way I was treated in a way. And this brought a lot of confusion. Remember, again, I was very young. So I think that's one thing. When you're young, you're still, I don't know, maybe when you're older also, but still don't know yourself so much. Still searching to understand who you are in the world and all of that. So this really made me independent in my own understanding of myself, because I wasn't understood specifically, not like everyone, but just a specific situation. It really enabled me, forced me in a way to understand myself and to stand by myself, even, I would say. And if I had someone who understood me along the path, then I wouldn't have gained that. Yeah, I needed to go through the confusion and the hurt and all of that. But that is a very big thing, to learn to understand yourself and not to doubt yourself. That's another very big one. And it's a journey, definitely. And another thing, I think when we start this path, then we do look up to many different souls, and we say someone is my instrument. And so at the beginning of the path, we tend to put a human being between myself and God, right? I think some of us at least put a human being between myself and God. And even I know that for myself, I had this wrong understanding that if I come close, let's say, what I would think of is the heart of the yagya, or like different souls, then that would bring me closer to God, because my aim very clearly was to be close to God. But then I had the wrong understanding that by coming close to certain souls, then that brings me closer to God. And so that had to really explode for me. And yes, it was painful, but it really allowed my relationship with Baba to have, there's no one between us. It's like completely personal. And so this is the aspect of independence. My relationship with Baba is independent. And again, it's a journey. I don't think I will go into all the details of that, but I'm assuming that it relates to each one of you and your journey to understand the depth of this thing. And then just saying the chat. Okay. So this is generally about these different challenges, and just to have this attitude to really take benefit and grow from everything, and not go into these thoughts that are weakening myself. And yeah, and even if these thoughts do come, then to work with it in a way that still is strengthening myself, to face it rather than have the feeling of quitting and hopelessness. And then maybe I can share a bit about my this thing of the personal connection and relationship with Baba. Just different ideas to share, but I'm trying to see what is the appropriate one for the moment. I'm wondering how many of you had the fortune of meeting Baba in Madhuban? Harsha, you know the souls here. So, like, is it many or not so many? I think Perla is raising hand to mean that there was that fortune. Okay. Okay, so
there are a good number of them. Yeah.
Good number. Okay, great. So one of the aspects in those meetings that personally I just love that was the complete focus I would have. It's like it's the ultimate thing that can be, the soul meeting God. What else can what more can you think of? And so when I would be in those meetings, it's like nothing else exists at that moment. And this complete focus is probably, I could now say, it kind of echoes and matches the Swadharma of the soul. Like it feels so comfortable to be in that space when there are no distractions. It's like the moment is the ultimate thing to experience. You're face to face with God. Nothing else exists. And this complete focus is just such a state of being. And I can say that in a way, when I remember that, I kind of miss that. I tell Baba, I miss that. But then obviously, now I need to bring that into my meditation. and to have this experience of, because still this is the confluence age, still this is the ultimate time of the soul meeting God. But it's like when it was physical, somehow it was more present, and now it's like taking the effort to be, to bring myself into that experience, into that framework, and really practice having that experience, and that, what's the word, having that meeting with God in the mind, in the subtle region, wherever you like, in that complete focus. How could anything distract me from this meeting? And so this is something I really appreciated. And I think I'll go to I'm just thinking where to go next from here. If anyone has a question, then it's okay, you can bring it up. But otherwise, maybe I'll just share another thing about the personal relationship. Probably many of you also had this experience at different points. It's not something we have all the time, but really how close and personal is our relationship with Baba. And like I remember one year, or there was a period of time when Baba kept asking us to finish Way's thoughts, finish Way's thoughts, finish Way's thoughts. Remember when he was talking a lot about that? And then it was there was some Bog message in Madhuban. It was actually a Bog message via Daddy Gulzar at those times, where like Baba was responding to my thoughts. It was such a personal response. And then I had this feeling, sorry, Baba, now I understand why you're asking us to finish Way's thoughts, because you have to listen to this, all these ways. He's really listening. He's really like accompanying the soul. And so how much do I really have this awareness that even though I'm not so aware of God, but God is aware of me? And again, I'm sure that all of us in different points had this feeling of this very personal response from God. And so I'll give just one example. And it's like Baba needs to give us these little proofs. And then our job is to keep remembering it and keep it alive. Because I don't need Baba to like prove to me all the time he's with me, he's listening, it's a live companionship. I need to emerge that feeling, but it has to be based on what I've experienced. And so just one special fortune I had some years ago. I was in the Global Retreat Center in Oxford, you know, and I was just there to help with for just Karma Yoga. I used to go there every year, and it was the Peace in the Park festival, if you heard of that. And there was a special visit of some souls from Madhuban at that time, and it happened to be that Rukmani Ben from Shantivan. She's a trance messenger. She visited JRC at that time, and it happened to be there was a meeting with her just for the group of residents and the helpers with her in the evening, and it was Wednesday evening, so this means the next day is Thursday, Bog. And she's a trance messenger, so she just came for one night to Oxford, and that was the night. And then while we were meeting, Sister Manda, who was in charge of the retreat center, she said, does anyone have any question for Baba? That's your opportunity, because she will go, Bukmani Ben will go offering Bog. And I was thinking, I was trying to see if I have a question, but there wasn't anything emerging. And so I said, I don't want to like force a question. So I just let it go. But then a question emerged and it was authentic. And so if it's authentic, I will go for it. And the question was about sustenance. Because what struck me when those souls visiting Madhuban shared, like introduced themselves, then they would always say, I had Palna, I had sustenance from daddy, I had sustenance from this soul, I had sustenance from that daddy, and this soul had sustenance from mama and baba. And then I was looking at my own journey, and I wouldn't say in that sense that I had this instrument to have this personal sustenance. And I had, and certainly at that time, there wasn't so much of the availability for a close relationship with the daddies and all of that. And so I asked this question to Baba via Rukmaniben of what is the sustenance for us now? Because within the Yagya, it's a different situation. So what is the sustenance for us now? And good. And then tomorrow came. It was Thursday. It was offering Bog. The message came, and I was expecting for the answer to be within the message, and it didn't come. And then I said, okay, no problem. I felt as if my question was answered. And then suddenly, Amanda Ben said, okay, all those who asked the question, now come. You will receive a personal reply. So apparently it was like a private, a personal message, and I completely didn't expect that. But that what was amazing in the response that I received, that it was a personal sustenance. I mean, each one of us, Baba was speaking about, continue with your evening meditation. Now, if you would say like Amrit Vela, yes, I get up for Amrit Vela, but that's not where I get so much my sustenance, in those days at least. And so it was speaking to me, continue with your evening meditation, that will give you the sustenance. And the Murli, which is also like revising the Murli, these are specific points that I'm sure it also relates to many of you, but it was very clearly like a personal response. And then the third thing was, whatever service you have to do, then do it from your heart. And these things, and Baba is giving you the sustenance of love, and these things will give you the experience of sustenance from Baba. And so what I really loved, first thing was really just understanding this is a personal thing, and really, you know, Baba knows me. Sometimes like God is like very, but do we really know Baba knows me? And have that personal relationship. And then the other thing was that Baba was basically saying the sustenance is only from him. Again, it's an independent relationship. It's not, I mean, there can be the wonderful experience of having sustenance with other souls and having instruments and all of that, but still, the sustenance is from him. And so Baba was saying that also, if you continue to have these thoughts in your mind, you will continue to, Baba will give you many experiences. So yeah, this was another special experience. And so just before our final part, we'll take another few moments of silence. And I'm just seeing this question of repeating the phrase. So I'll just repeat this point from Baba about the question. It was some Avyakt Murli, where Baba said, Baba is throwing stones in the form of questions into the pool of your mind and watching the ripples that are created. So just listening to the ripples. The ripples are not answers. It's just what flows from the heart and the mind. Okay, so let's just take a few moments of silence now. Maybe we can just take this question of observing the ripples in our mind and heart now, and what does it tell me about myself or about where I am now? So I'm just taking these quiet moments now to listen inwards. What waves are there inside my consciousness now? Not judging it, not necessarily even trying to direct it anywhere. Just keep going deeper inside, acknowledging the waves, going deeper into the heart, into the silence, into the light. Shanti. And for the final part, now going to maybe the final phase, not final, but the last phase of the journey. And I will share just one very significant experience or a huge gift that I feel I've received. And that was in Madhuban. And it was the last Madhuban before the world changed. For me, it was December 2019. And Brother Harsha, you were also there. I think we met, and that was, we had for the like youth, the young adults instrument, like a special retreat before the big youth retreat. We had a special retreat in Pandav Bhavan, which in itself is like amazing. And there was one exercise there that was an interview with yourself. Remember that one, Harsha? I don't know what was your experience, but my experience of it, it was really just something happened there, and it was a gift from Baba. But the way I could describe it afterwards, when a soul asked me how it was, the words I had was, it was beyond mind-blowing.
Maybe you want to give a little context of that exercise, right?
Of course. This is like I will share the experience itself. So the thing was, it's an interview with yourself, but with your you can say perfect self, your complete self. You can do an interview with whichever self you like. So it can be the deity self. Their framework, when they introduced this thing to us, it was the open heart. For me, the words that I wrote was the healed self, because at that time they were within the heart. I felt there had to be some healing. And the exercise is like, when we used to have invocation with Baba, but this was invoking that self. So you're not invoking God, you're invoking your own self, your own complete self, your own open heart, whatever side you like to meet. And it's a meeting, encounter, an interview. So it's done in a kind of a new way, but that is what allowed this experience. We're sitting in the meditation hall in Pandav Bhavan, and even though it's everyone together, you're completely focused on your own meeting. And the idea is you take two chairs. One is for yourself, your body, and then the other chair is for your complete self, your open heart self, that part. And you're sitting like for a meeting. And so the first part, which I really appreciated how they introduced it, you're just inviting that energy. It's just preparation. And they said, do not start the interview. Basically, don't rush it until you really feel the presence. So it's again giving the space and the time and the peace to not try to rush to results, but just allowing it. And so I was just sitting in meditation and kind of invoking that. And then at some point, this energy really came. And what was mostly the uniqueness of this exercise, the thing that comes is absolutely beautiful, absolutely pure. Just it really, it's hard to describe it, but it's really the energy of this being, of this presence. But what is unique about it is that it is your own self. It's not something external to you. And so what I found was that I could not say, okay, well, it's Baba, it's not me, I'm here and that's someone else, it's someone there. It's like there wasn't, it made me understand that actually when I am sitting in front of the perfect Baba in a way, then still there's the distance and kind of resistance of myself, because I'm saying, okay, this is you, you're perfect, I'm what I am, I'm where I am. But then when this thing came, it was a very clear recognition, it's my energy. It's like I cannot reject it and say, okay, it's something else, it's something pure, it's amazing, but I'm different. It's like it melted the wall of resistance, and I had to accept this is me, because I can feel this is my energy. It wasn't someone else, it was my energy, but it's in its complete purity. And so that is a very meaningful part in that experience, that you actually are faced with your own self, and then you know it's there, you know it. It's like you meet it. And so that was just a very valuable thing. And then after that presence comes, then there's the exchange of question. I can ask questions, and then interestingly, when you need to listen to the answer from that perfect self, you actually go and sit in that seat. And so you enter into that, and then the answers come. So it's a funny thing when you're actually switching chairs. So if I'm asking a question from my present state, I go to my chair. And then when the answer needs to come from that presence, then I go and sit and take that form and enter it. And yeah, they advised us to write it down. So that's very fortunate, because I have it written, and the answers are just, in a way, so simple, but so true and so enlightening. So yeah, this is an aspect of another independence. You know, one word that comes a lot in the Murli is right. I'll say it in Hindi, probably not pronounce it so well, but adhikar. It's our right. And I remember one time I realized, wait, if it's my right, then it's, when something is your right, you're not dependent on someone giving it to you. I have to, right? It's claim my right, it's mine. And so yeah, it's a very deep, subtle aspect of independence, basically. And so just connecting this experience from Madhuban to this question of what's now, what is the service now, maybe how to serve now, or what should be my focus now. And I can share that for myself, the feeling is very much that really focusing my energy, my attention, my effort on, you can say, creating the stage. It's not about so much for myself speaking, giving the knowledge. I mean, if someone is the position of giving knowledge, wonderful. But I feel really what souls, ultimately, the ultimate service would be our stage, the vibrations, that to be the embodiment of what we teach. And I think each one of us can ask ourselves and see how much really am I in that stage. And I think there's still some path to go. And so my aim is really at that, kind of maybe bridging the gap to that thing that I've experienced. And I think this service is for me at least, it's more even than, someone will be in front of me and we'll have this experience from the vibrations. But really, when we reach that stage, it crosses any distance. It's serving vibrationally the whole world. Baba used to speak a lot about Mansa Seva, the service through the mind. And so where I could have been in the past, I don't know if to say distracted, but my focus would have been more on external service. I really don't feel that's where my energy and effort should be now, because I just really have to become it. And that's a whole focus within itself. And so that's my inspiration at the moment. And then it's like a personal checking of what am I doing? What do I need to do? What is my practice to reach that aim? But the main thing is to have this aim in an emerged way for myself. So I think maybe I can stop here, and I hope this made any sense to you. And if you have any questions or comments.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask any questions that you have. Parla?
Sorry, Shanti. I was going to say no questions.
Yeah, this is nice. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask some personal questions as if you feel like, if you're comfortable, you can share. If not, we can move on to the next question. So from the upbringing perspective, so you're not, I mean, you are coming from Israel itself, is it? Yeah. So are you coming from Muslim background or Jewish background?
Jewish. Israel is Jewish mostly.
Cool.
And
so
of
how
course
do you?
There are other religions, but yeah.
Beautiful. How do you build the bridge between those who have this practice of Judaism to the Gyan? Like, how do you build the bridge for those who have been practicing that? And how? So, what are some things from your own past life that help you come closer to Baba?
You see, it's a bit tricky question because I don't feel there's a need for a bridge. Certainly for myself, I don't come from a religious background. It's just a tradition, but it's not like such a religious background. And even generally for a big part of the population, I would say it's very open-minded. It's not it's like you can speak about meditation and self progress or all these things, self-awareness, quite easily. And otherwise, again, even if I look at the ones who are very religious, it's not so much building a bridge, because you just need to see what are the things that at the core it's the same. So it's not like you're trying to bring something else to those who are maybe very much within their own religion, whether it is Jewish or Muslim, because that's all belongs to that religion. And that, if we spoke about Swadharma before, this is part of who they are. But then within their own religion, they have also became distant from the core, from themselves, from the essential religion itself. And so what Gyan does is bring the essence back to life. And so it's not a bridge between two different things, but it's just strengthening and giving meaning to that. to their understanding. So I would never say something as if to shift their understanding, but to strengthen and deepen their understanding within their religion. And Gyan is all about that. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's beautiful. See, one of the things that I always think about is Baba is always there for us in the backdrop, and then he comes at the end of the cycle to pull us out of the mess and then create a better place for us to start all over again. And I also feel that the drama is playing a key role. Drama meaning the whole collective, meaning the all 8 billion souls, and there is not so we are connected to some people more closer than the other, either through culture, either through the place where we are. So there is some role that we have to place wherever we are. So on that lines, if you actually see one of the big pieces of the big transformation that is going to happen, there's a lot of attention on Jerusalem and Israel and things that is going on. And you are Baba's instrument there right now. Right? So as in line of that thought, so what do you see that major role that you will be playing in this big transformation that is going to happen now? How do you envision yourself, and how are you preparing yourself? You got to be guardian angel. Of course, Baba is going to work through you, but anything in specific that is the role that is going to reveal now, because that is a very significant place on earth. Lot of attention, and because all religions, all Western religions, Muslims, Christians, Jews, everyone converge there, and then it's a melting pot in a way, and you are sitting on it, literally. So how do you, any thoughts around that?
Yeah. Okay, one thing, I don't think that like it's more special being in one point at one place on the face of the earth than at another place. Wherever we are, I mean, I remember actually the first time I was in Madhuban, and then going on leaving Madhuban for the first time, and yeah, one thing that really was amazing for me, if you remember, it was in the Harmony Hall. And at those days, they used to get us up, like when introducing, they would go country by country. They would be continent by continent, and then all the countries. And it was like amazing for me. It was like a vision of what we used to hear about the whole world coming together. It's just understanding, wow, in this hall, we all feel like a family. And there are people from all over the world and from countries I never even heard of. And it was like amazing. And then when we were leaving Madhuban, I had this image of, okay, now this group of souls were so filled with this joy and love and God's treasures, and we're being sent. Like I could see all of us in our different airplanes going to the different parts of the world. And it was so beautiful because, when we come to return from Madhuban, so charged, so full, and now this is being spread out all over the world. So I don't think there's one place more significant, because I don't think there's any soul who's more significant than another soul. Each soul, wherever, like if someone is as if sent to be an instrument in the most, whoever, like forgotten part on the world, it's amazing because it's for who would reach those souls otherwise. So in that sense, I don't feel it's a more important place, but I can say that I do have some understanding maybe why I was stationed here. Because, yeah, I don't like, what's the word? I don't have a special like belonging to the religion. We're deity souls, so it's not like I identify myself with the present thing, but I do know that within the Swadharma, within the heart of this soul, these are some things I discovered along the path. It's not something you know, it's something so built in that at some point you kind of realize. So one of the aspects were just understanding how much, for myself, I really see the whole world. I don't see a specific part. It's like I feel the whole world is in my heart. My all attention and bhavana is for the whole world, all the souls of the world. And so maybe this point, which is where there is such a big clash of souls from different parts, but just really having the genuine belonging and love for all without the distinctions, maybe that's one of the qualities, not the only one. I can think of others, but one of the main things why I would be here, for example.
Definitely, and definitely when the Ukraine war started, like I see the Zoom meditation that is going non-stop. There are like hundreds of people, hundreds of Brahmins, irrespective of where they are physically stationed. Of course, we are all meditating towards the souls there, especially channeling our energy there, and definitely we are all in this together, and of course, but somebody is on the on the fire pan, but connecting whole Baba and Baba's family to uplift the whole community there. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for all that you do for Baba. And if anyone have any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, we can have a quick meditation and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you. It's nice to hear from you. Whoever, if you like to share anything, it would be nice. But of course, you don't have to.
So we have a couple of comments from on the chat. Nina Ben is appreciating your conversation with yourself, the perfect being. Yeah, that was a unique. That was little unique for me personally when we did it in. I know it is in meditation hall that we were doing. It was really interesting, and then I saw that I can keep going on with this, so I can get clarity from my own higher self. It was nice. Yeah. Okay, Zen, you want to say something?
Om Shanti, I just want to say thank you, sister, for sharing your experience. Because I just joined, I came into Guyana not long ago, like 1 year ago. So I didn't have chance to meet Bab Dada face to face. So I really agree with you. The sustenance is directly from Baba every day. Like Amravela and Murli is a personal meeting with Baba. Truly. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome for Gyan, I mean. And yeah, Baba owes you. It definitely needs to give you the experience. It's his duty. That's his Swadharma.
So if you can take us through a little meditation and then we'll wrap.
So we'll just take a few more moments of silence. In this open space inside, side by side with Baba. Om Shanti. Thank you.